Hello, hello. We have reached the end of March. It is actually the beginning of April as I film this. So we are a quarter of the way through the year. And so I thought, what better time than this to do the quarter year book crisis tag. I've been watching this do the rounds a little bit and I really wanted to do it. And then I was tagged by the lovely Heather at Reading with a Vengeance. Heather is a newer booktuber to me, but she has a fantastic channel. She has quite similar reading tastes to me. I'm going to talk about Heather's channel a bit more in one of the later questions, but I really love her channel. Check her out. This tag was created by Roshian's Reading, who is a booktuber that I have followed for a long time. She gives fantastic historical fiction recommendations, so if that is your jam, check her out. I will link her original video below. So let's do the questions. Full disclosure, this is actually my second attempt at filming this because I tried to film it last night and then I looked at the footage and it was trash, utter trash. It was dark, I looked horrific, so I'm doing the whole thing again. So hopefully I'll be quicker and this will need less editing than my original version. Question 1, how many books have you read this year? So the answer to that is 37. However, 6 of those were short stories, which though I did track them in Goodreads and Storygraph, I wouldn't really count them as books because they were like 30 pages a piece. So I'd say 31 books this year, which is very respectable. I think I am very pleased with that. My goal is like 6 books a month, so I am an overachiever. Question number 2, have you found a book this year that you think could make it into your best of 2022? Yes, I have actually found quite a few. I'm not going to talk about all of them right now. I will do a best 10 of the year so far in June, but the one that's sticking out to me because I've quite recently finished it and had a live discussion on it at the weekend is Lonesome by Larry McMurtry. Wow. wow, this book was amazing. It's historical fiction, it's a western, and you follow a group of cowboys as they move a herd of cattle from Texas to Montana, and this book blew me away. The characters are incredible. They all have shades of grey, which is what I want to see in my books, and I fell in love with many of the characters, and I got my heart broken quite severely towards the end of this book. So I did a live with Carrie from Very Literary Carrie on Saturday. I will link that video below. The first half of that is spoiler free, and then Carrie does give you big blaring woo woo when we're going to talk about spoilers. So if you want to check it out but you haven't read it yet, then the first half of that video is absolutely accessible, and if you have read it and want to see our thoughts on what happens, then you can watch it all the way through. So yeah, that's the one that I would be very surprised if that doesn't make it to my best books of 2022. Do you have a least favourite book of the year so far, or a book that you've given 1 star? Yes. I don't usually give 1 stars because I usually DNF before that point. I don't usually give 2 stars for the same reason. But this year I have been judging the BookTube prize. You may have seen my review and reactions video. But for those 6 books, you have to read them from cover to cover. You have to finish them, regardless of whether you passionately hate them. And there was one that I passionately hated. This one. This is Loop by Brenda Lozano, translated from Spanish by Annie McDermott. And this is a book about a woman whose boyfriend goes over to Spain and she's left all alone. And it's all stream of consciousness, and she talks about her notebook quite a lot. And yeah, I was bored. It's a tiny book. It's like, is it even 200? Not even 200 pages, and I literally didn't even want to finish it. I did finish it. I gave it 1 star, but passionately disliked it. Next question is, what is your most read genre this year? And when I look at my story graph, the one at the top is actually sci-fi, but that is not quite accurate because 6 of those were the short stories I read. I did a video on that last week, so I'll link that video below. But the next most read genre, if we take out the short stories, is literary fiction. So yeah, that sounds about right. I would quite like to pick up a bit more historical fiction and fantasy going through the rest of the year, because I'm getting sort of withdrawal symptoms from all the literary fiction overload. But yeah, hopefully towards the end of the year I'll move back more into my comfort zone. But yeah, literary fiction. Next question is a book that has surprised you, and for this it's got to be Anne of Green Gables by Montgomery. I read this book really early in the year. I think it was one of the first books I picked up, and this is a children's classic from the early 1900s, and I thought it was going to be fine. It's on the list of books that you should read, and I thought I'm sure it'll be lovely, but man, that book is going to have a special place in my heart for a very long time. The way that Ellen Montgomery creates her characters and creates this sense of misadventure throughout the book, coupled with beautiful descriptions of Avonlea, where Anne lives. I just loved it. I absolutely loved it. It made me laugh, it made me cry, and though it is marketed as a children's book, I think adults should absolutely read it, and I definitely got a lot out of it as an adult. So yeah, that was quite surprising how much I fell in love with that book. Next question is a book that has come out in 2022 or is due to come out that you want to read but haven't yet, and for that I'm going to choose The School for Good Mothers by Jessamine Chan. So I talked about this in my Women's Prize prediction video. I thought it might get through. It didn't. Spoiler alert, not many of my predictions actually made it through, but I still really very much want to read this, and my kidlets gifted me this for Mother's Day. They did have some direction. I didn't just send them loose in a bookstore. But yeah, this is about a woman who does something, I think, mildly irresponsible with her child, and then has to go to almost a reform school for mothers where she has to prove that she is a good mother. Sounds like a great premise. I'm really hoping to pick this up very soon once I get through all the other millions of books that I want to get to really soon. Question 7. What is a goal that you set at the beginning of the year that you are succeeding at? And the goal that I'm doing really well at is reading translated books in translation. I set myself a goal. I set myself a goal of reading 10 books in translation, and because I got chosen to judge the translated fiction for the first round of the BookTube prize, that was 6 books in translation straight off the bat. I've also written another 2 books in translation, so that means 8 out of 10. So I'm at 80% of that goal at 25% of the year, so smashing it. Okay, the next question is, what is a goal that you are not succeeding at, that you are failing at, that you are bombing out on? That's not how Roisin put it. I think she put that you need to focus on because, she's nice. But failing at getting my NetGalley score up. That is one of my goals, to try and get my NetGalley score to 90%. 90%? Unlikely. 20%. For those that don't know, NetGalley is a service that gives you e-ARCs, advanced copies of books to read and review, and you are supposed to read them and review them, and I am failing miserably at that task, and I have not picked up a single one of my backlist ARCs to improve my NetGalley score. So I really need to work on that. I do need to work on it. Okay, and then the last question is, are there any new BookTube channels that you have found in 2022? And there are 2 that I would like to mention here. The first is obviously the lovely Heather, who tagged me in this. at Reading with a Vengeance. She has a fantastic channel. She's got a really conversational style, and like I said, she reads a lot of books that I read, and she rates a lot of books that I rate, with the exception of Stephen King. Now, I know we've talked about this before, but I would rather grate my eyeballs than pick up another Stephen King novel, and she quite likes him. So we're working through that. We're working through that conflict in our relationship right now. But apart from her love of Stephen King, she's fantastic. So I highly suggest you check her out. The other booktuber that is new to me this year is Freddie at The Sluggish Reader. Freddie is, I believe, an Indonesian booktuber, and the first video I watched of his was when he was talking about banned books, and I highly recommend you check that out because he gives a different perspective on it, from sort of the American booktubers who posted a lot around the time when that was all kicking off, and I found it super interesting. And I literally just a couple of days ago watched his video where he ranks his BookTube prize books. Check it out, it's worth a look. And so that is the end of the questions. So I'm just going to tag some people. I don't think I've seen many people do this, sort of it's starting to come up, but I will tag Nikki at Red Dot Reads, Alice at Giant and the Bookshelf. Alice and the Giant Bookshelf. Words are hard. And Scott and Nell at Gunpowder Fiction and Plot. So I'd love to see all you guys do it. If I didn't tag you but you want to do it, do it. And if you're interested in some of the books that floated on my boat last year, this is my video looking at the best books from 2021. Thanks, guys.